Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, which is Seamless Acceptance 101. This is one of a continuing series of educational webinars from WindowBook. I'm Monica Lundquist. I'm the Marketing and Training Specialist here at WindowBook, and also with us today is Mary Bush, who is from our Professional Services team. So today we're going to be talking about what Seamless Acceptance is. We're going to talk about how to get started, and we're going to talk about some of the benefits from participating in this program. Now, obviously, pretty much everybody knows that this is now going to be mandated, so you should already be in Seamless Parallel. That's the testing part of this program, which allows mailers to get up to speed before they go live. And then we'll talk about some of the benefits from using Seamless Acceptance. So even though it is a mandated program, there are benefits to mailers, and we want to make sure that we highlight those. Then once we discuss all of the information about Seamless, we're going to turn it over to Mary Bush, and she's going to give us a high-level look at some of the tools from WindowBook that can help mailers get through Seamless Acceptance and particularly help to avoid those assessments. And then we'll wrap it up with a Q&A session. So we hear the term Seamless Acceptance a lot, but what exactly is it? Well, it's designed by the Postal Service to help streamline and automate the acceptance, verification, payment, and induction of business mailings. And the processes are performed primarily during postal processing of the mail. Essentially, it helps break down some of the barriers that you face for faster mail processing and induction without delays. Seamless Acceptance leverages the electronic documentation, or EDOC, and the intelligent mail barcodes. And those barcodes could be on mail pieces, trays, sacks, and containers. And it leverages all this information to help automate the acceptance and verification processes. So Seamless Acceptance allows both the Postal Service and mailers to answer three key questions. Have all the mail pieces been paid for? Are the mail pieces addressed accurately? And is the mailing prepared properly? So how does it do this, you might ask? Well, by comparing the information that's submitted in that electronic postage data, or EDOC, to the mail piece characteristic data that's obtained during processing of the mail, and it's obtained by scanning those barcodes. So Seamless Acceptance uses sample scanning at induction and also what's called mail processing equipment, or MPE scans. And those are, of course, on the processing equipment that the Postal Service uses to further process and sort the mail. And these scans are used to evaluate address accuracy, mail quality, and postage payment. So here's a quick kind of a visual overview of how Seamless Acceptance works. And as you can see by the square here in the upper left, it does require that you use unique barcodes and that you use electronic documentation for your mailings, and that you provide piece data. Now, the mail is verified by reviewing the mail within the EDOC, and that's called EDOC verification, and then the comparison of that EDOC to the mail processing equipment, or MPE scans. That's called census verification. And then the comparison of that EDOC information to scans from sampling. That's called sampling verification. These three verification types together provide a complete view of the mail preparation. Mailers that are participating in Seamless Acceptance will have their postage statements automatically finalized once the job is successfully submitted to Postal One. This means that these statements are no longer finalized by a business mail entry clerk or a DMU clerk. Rather, the postage statements will be finalized by the Postal One system on the postage statement mailing date that is submitted in the EDOC, or electronic documentation. This allows mailers much greater control over the postage payment. Now, mailers do need to verify that the permits and account numbers that are associated to their accounts are funded prior to this postage statement finalization. Postal One will perform balance checks on the payment account that's listed in the EDOC and for EDOCs that are in the updated status. And it starts doing this balance check every 24 hours, beginning 2 days before the mailing date. Now, in cases where there are insufficient funds in these accounts, then an email is sent to the Verification Assessment Evaluator, or VAE, that's identified for your CRID, and then you can take care of the funding deficiency. Now, if the statement does not auto-finalize on the mailing date, Postal One will attempt to auto-finalize it again 4 times per day for the next 14 days. So you do have some time to get those accounts funded. Now, on the 15th day, the statement then must be manually finalized by a BME clerk after sufficient funds have been added to the payment account. And this whole auto-finalization process can be tested in the Test Environment for Mailers, or TEM area of Postal One. Now, participation in seamless acceptance process is being mandated. However, it's of course limited to mailings and mailers that meet the specific rules of engagement in governing mail preparation, barcoding, and electronic documentation, because of course it depends on all of those elements for the process. So for mailers to get started with seamless acceptance, you would first go into what's called seamless parallel. And everybody should be in seamless parallel by this point, because it's going to be mandated for full seamless starting in June and July of next year. If for some reason that you are not in seamless parallel, you do need to be contacting your local business mail entry or perhaps your district level. Now, you can consider seamless parallel an intermediate testing step, and it allows you to get going to meet the seamless requirements and also to make sure that you're resolving any issues that occur in your mail workflow that would cause issues or errors. Now, when you're in seamless parallel, this does not change the way your mail is verified or expose you to any new assessments, but it does give you extra visibility into the qualification and accuracy of your mail and the data you provide. And this, of course, is done through the mailer scorecard. So seamless parallel allows mailers to work with the Postal Service to understand your mail quality results and prepare for full seamless. And you'll receive feedback on whether your EDOC meets the seamless acceptance and mail barcoding requirements. Now, because seamless acceptance relies on the barcode scans for the census and sampling data, EDOC and unique barcodes are required for all mail, including single piece volume at a facility, before transitioning out of seamless parallel. So one of the goals of the parallel testing period is for the mailer to work towards 100% barcoding of pieces, handling units, and containers. And the EDOC must include the piece level detail, such as the PDR or PVC file of the mail.dat file. So how does the mailing verification process work while you're in seamless parallel? Well, when you're in parallel, the BME or DMU clerks will continue their current verification process in parallel with the seamless sampling. So they'll check to make sure that that auto-finalization feature that we just talked about is working as expected. They'll also perform any dismiss release procedures when applicable, which would be for drop shipping, and monitor the mail quality reports. And this is the time when any issues or concerns should be discussed between the mailer and the Postal Service. If the mail quality is below the thresholds for 1 calendar month, the mailer is then eligible to be activated for full seamless acceptance. Now, once activation occurs, then the BME and DMU clerks will perform seamless sampling only, and they will discontinue the regular manual verification processes. Now, keep in mind that the manual verification process will remain in place for any non-automation or non-barcoded mailings. Now, this is a visual of how the mail verification process works once you go into Seamless Full. So the mailers will prepare the mail and submit the e-doc, which upon successful submission, that will automatically finalize the statement. Then the Postal Service will do the manual sampling at various points, also do the sampling as they process the mail, and that will result in some verification. That will then generate the reports, the mailer scorecard information that you're probably already familiar with. Now, the results of the acceptance process are displayed in the mailer scorecard, as we mentioned, and that is done under the Seamless tab. And this information is aggregated over a 1-month period for measurement against established thresholds. Now, again, during Seamless Parallel, this is informational only. It's not used for assessments. Now, if the measured errors are below the allowed thresholds and your 30-day full service percentage remains over 90%, that is when you will be eligible for full Seamless. Now, this chart shows the verifications that are monitored for compliance, each having its own error threshold. Now, we won't be going through this in detail, but bottom line, mailers do need to pay much stricter attention to their mailer scorecard so that any anomalies can be taken care of with Postal One and your internal processes, so that any errors that exceed the thresholds can be corrected before the assessment implementation dates. So what exactly is measured in Seamless Acceptance, and what are the acceptable thresholds? One of the items measured is undocumented pieces. These are individual mail pieces that are scanned during the Postal Service's mail processing, but can't be matched up to the barcodes in any of the e-docs submitted within the last 45 days. The move update process is also measured, as is the accuracy of the delivery point data. Mail piece characteristics are also measured as part of the sampling process. And the nesting and sortation accuracy is measured by comparing the e-doc with both the MPE and the census sampling. Postage, weight, and the barcode scan rates are also measured. And you can see in this chart what the Postal Service defines as the acceptable error thresholds. And again, the Seamless Parallel testing period, that's when mailers get the feedback on their mailing quality and work on improving any reported errors to get to a consistent quality level before going into full Seamless. Now, the Postal Service uses what's called a postage assessment factor, or PAF, to calculate the dollar amount of any postage, weight, or mail characteristic assessments for errors over the thresholds in these areas. Now, these areas are measured over the period of a calendar month and compared to the thresholds. The Postal Service will collect postage for errors when a mailer has exceeded the PAF more than 3 times in a rolling 12-month period. The 4th month over the PAF threshold in the rolling 12-month period is the month that will be assessed, and each PAF is separately evaluated. Now, the postage assessment calculations for the other validations are detailed in the Guide to Seamless Acceptance, which is available on the Postal Service's Postal Pro website. And details on this are also available in the Streamlined Mail Acceptance Guide, also available on the Postal Service Postal Pro website. So we encourage you to become familiar with these documents. For the address quality aspect of Seamless Acceptance, the delivery point data is verified by comparing the data in the Intelligent Mail barcode scans to the data in the electronic documentation, or e-doc. For example, it will look for invalid or inactive 11-digit, 9-digit, or 5-digit delivery point data. Or it'll check for things such as the Intelligent Mail barcode containing all 0s or all 9s in the delivery point area. Also, for the address quality aspect of Seamless Acceptance, the move update information is examined as well. For example, if a mail piece MPE scan shows that the mail piece received more than one associated change of address record, where that change of address create date and effective date is between 95 days and 18 months of the postage statement finalization date. That would obviously be a very old change of address record and would be considered an error. Likewise, if the mail piece is undeliverable as addressed and receives an associated NICSE record, that would also be considered an error. And if the mail piece is undeliverable because the intelligent mail barcode delivery point and the routing delivery point do not match, that would also be considered an error. Essentially, this means that mailers need to ensure that they're keeping their mailing addresses up to date and accurately applying that data in the address, in the barcode, and in the electronic documentation. Remember, it's key. They have to be accurate in all three areas. Now, if you're a mail service provider, you may think that this is not something that you can control. But since any assessments typically go to the mail preparer or EDOC submitter, you do want to spend some time educating your mail owners or your clients regarding how critical this is, and that there are many tools available to help keep their addresses up to date. Undocumented pieces are probably what most people get the most concerned about as far as seamless acceptance is concerned. And again, this can be either from the mail processing equipment or MPE scans, or it can be from the sampling. And what happens is that if an IMB scan is received, the Postal Service will attempt to associate that IMB scan back to the finalized EDOC, and it would be an EDOC that's been submitted within the past 45 days. Now, it'll identify any scans that could not be associated to an EDOC when the service type is either full service or basic. Now, the first thing that happens is that these scans are first flagged as what's called unassociated. So the system does attempt or make multiple attempts to try to tie this back to an EDOC. The system will then reattempt to associate any of those unassociated piece scans to the EDOC, and it'll do that for a period of 3 days after the scan date or time. If during that period of time the intelligent mail barcode cannot be associated to any EDOC submission, then the barcode will be considered undocumented. If, however, the intelligent mail barcode can be associated to an EDOC submission during that time period, then the barcode is not considered undocumented. So you can see there's a little bit of lag time between the time that that scan occurs and the time that you submit your file. It's really only about 3 days, but you do have a little bit of lag time there. Now, a question that often comes up regarding potential assessments for undocumented pieces is, well, who gets the assessment? Currently, this assessment is typically assigned to the CRID of the EDOC submitter, so it's usually the mail preparer. However, the Postal Service does use what they call a bookending process to look at the CRID associated with the owner of the mailer ID or MID in the intelligent mail barcode on the mail pieces. So in some cases, they may be able to pinpoint that there are multiple mail owners within a mailing and make assessments accordingly. Now, in these cases, if both the owner of the MID and the mail service provider agree that the assessment should go to the mail service provider instead, this can be manually adjusted in Postal One so that these undocumented pieces would be assigned and reported under the mail service provider's location. Now, again, more details on the entire postage assessment process can be obtained from those guides that we talked about, the Guide to Postage Assessments, and the Seamless Acceptance Guide. And again, both of those are available on the Postal Pro website. Another thing that's measured is the barcode scan rate. This is calculated for mail pieces, and it's determined by calculating the number of pieces that received a scan. And again, this would be on the MPE equipment. And it compares it to the total number of pieces that are expected, and that would be from the EDOC. Now, there are some adjustments that can be made for this, for errors that are detected here. So, for example, there are some exclusions. Mail pieces are excluded from these scan rate calculations when a scan isn't expected. So, for example, mail pieces are excluded from barcode calculations when mail is entered at a facility that does not have scanning equipment, typically DDUs. An adjustment is also made to the total piece count if a piece is destined for a non-automation zone based on its 5-digit delivery zip. Again, these non-automation 5-digit zip codes are not equipped with scanning equipment, so a scan would not be expected there. And if the piece is processed on MPE equipment that's detected to be operating below an acceptable quality threshold, those will also be excluded from that barcode scan rate. The nesting and sortation is also examined during seamless acceptance. And again, the sampling data is compared to the electronic documentation to determine if it matches the nesting and sortation. So it reconstructs bundles and trays using the scan information from MPE equipment to determine what the correct nesting and sortation would be. Then the electronic documentation is verified to ensure that the mailing has been prepared in accordance with the pre-sort rules that are outlined in the domestic mail manual. Weight is also verified, and it's done by performing or comparing piece weight captured during the sampling, and again, back to that electronic documentation. So you might wonder, well, why would something be flagged as an error in weight? Well, let's say, for example, that the piece weight retrieved from the sample is greater than the piece weight that's claimed in the EDOC, and the sample weight crosses into a new rate category. That would be considered an error. Or if the piece weight retrieved from the sample is greater than the piece weight claimed in the EDOC, and it exceeds the % threshold set for pound postage. Postage is also examined, and that verification is performed by comparing, again, the sampling results to the electronic documentation. You can see a theme here. So typical errors would be if the postage payment method from the sample does not match the EDOC. So let's say, for example, you have a permit imprint or indicia on the mail piece that's examined from the sample, but your EDOC says that you have metered the mail. That would be an error. Or if the affixed postage amount on the mail piece sample does not match the affixed amount of postage that you've got in your EDOC, that would also be an error. And Seamless takes a look at mail characteristics, and this verification is performed by inspecting physical preparation and comparing that sampling results again back to the electronic documentation. So some typical errors would be content errors, such as material in the mail piece that's examined is required to be mailed at first class rates, but you're mailing it at a different class of postage. Or perhaps the mail piece contains material that's not eligible for nonprofit rates, but you are claiming nonprofit rates in your EDOC. Another possible error would be that the processing category that's identified during sampling is different than the processing category claimed in the EDOC. So for example, they might take a look at your physical mail piece, determine that it needs to be a letter, but you have submitted it as a flat in the EDOC. Now, despite all this complexity and all these things that are being measured, there are benefits by participating in seamless acceptance. One of the benefits is that the verification process is all electronic. So at least in theory, it's a much faster process. Verification is also a more standardized process, which is particularly important if you've got multiple mailing sites. And I think anybody that's got multiple mailing sites has experienced this in the past, where you have a virtually identical mailing or perhaps even the identical mailing processed in more than one of your mailing plants, and yet it's accepted at one plant and not accepted at the other, DMU or BME. That kind of disparity basically goes away with seamless acceptance. And probably the most important benefit is that the mailer controls both the mail release schedule and the postage payment schedule without any USPS intervention. So let's say, for example, that your DMU or BME stops accepting mail at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, but you have mail that you continue to process into the evening. Well, that's still going to receive today's mail date, because once you submit that file to Postal One, even after your DMU or BME is closed, as long as it's got today's date on it and it's successfully submitted to Postal One, it will automatically finalize with today's date. So that does provide some true benefit for mailers. And also, trend-based quality measurements in Seamless mean that mailers won't be penalized for issues within a single mailing. And since you have, or should at least during the Seamless parallel process, have tested the accuracy of your data before going live, your risk is actually lowered with having problems with your data or processes that would lead to assessments. Now, as I've mentioned earlier, there are many Postal Service resources available to access more information about seamless acceptance. We definitely encourage you to take advantage of this. The Postal Pro website includes a virtual laundry list of guides and fact sheets, videos, and so forth. So please do take advantage of these resources and become familiar with this information. And again, if for some reason you are not already in Seamless Parallel, you should contact your local or district business mail entry unit. And you can find you're probably already familiar with your local business mail entry, but if you need to escalate it to the district level, you can locate that, again, using Postal Pro. They've got business mail entry locators to help find your district office. Okay, so now that we've explained a little bit about seamless acceptance and some of its benefits and what is verified and some of the potential errors that can happen, I'm going to turn it over to Mary Bush. Mary is one of our professional services specialists, and she's going to give us a high-level look at some of the tools from WindowBook that can help make seamless acceptance participation easier, and particularly to help protect you from getting errors and assessments. And there's a whole suite of solutions that we have available. So, Mary, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you, and let's show folks what we've got that can help protect them against seamless errors.
Thanks, Monica. What I'm going to show you here, so we'll get this joke out of the way really fast, is we can get you into Seamless very seamlessly. So there you have it. We'll start with your score. And this is the free offer that Monica was telling us about in the very beginning. And there'll be more detail on it of how you can subscribe to get your score. But for those of you that maybe are not the responsible person for looking at the scorecard, the free offer would still apply to you. But you can share it with that particular person. Maybe you'll get a Happy Meal or something out of the deal if you help them out here a little bit. That this email would be delivered into their inbox every day, approximately 8 a.m., and it's color-coded. So if it's delivered in its green, you or that person does not even have to research, dig, or look at anything. If the email is delivered and it's color-coded in yellow, we draw your attention to the potential threshold that you're going to be exceeding. And Monica spent a lot of time talking about the reports. Well, we give you the reports, the previous month and the current month. And lastly, if it's delivered and it's in red, dun, 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 dun. So not only do we tell you where you've exceeded that threshold, but again, we have the reports available, and you may have a way to maybe dispute those assessments. So this I'm going to call a reactive way to look at things. And I like to call it proactive, right? Because the more that you can resolve early on in the process, the less chance that you're going to have those potential thresholds. But knowing if you're in seamless is a huge deal. I believe Monica gave us the equation about 90% full service mailing. You're automatically in parallel. And if you didn't know that, Monica mentioned Postal Pro numerous times. You definitely want to make sure. And then having all of these tools in place will help you get from assessment to hopefully non-assessments when you go full seamless. But it's all about getting everything fixed and basically what's the saying, getting your ducks in a row now. I'm going to fast forward here to debt pre-check. So this would be one of those products that you would use in the very beginning of your workflow, because what debt pre-check brings to the table, out of pre-sort into debt pre-check, bumps up against the gateway, and then produces a report similar to this. So it gives you all of the particulars about that file, the label list information, all the way down to here, the STID. Okay, well, why are you showing me this? Running a mail DAT through debt pre-check early on in the process gives you this report and allows you to review and look at the information in that mail DAT before the piece even goes into production. Nothing worse than assuming everything is correct. It goes into production. I don't know, maybe you're 1,000 pieces into it, maybe more, just to find out, uh-oh, the wrong STID was applied. Wrong STID applied, you're going to have to start from the very beginning because this is one of those critical areas that Monica was pointing out in Postal Pro that you will be assessed on. So debt pre-check, very important to use in the very beginning of the process. Another item that we're going to discuss is WB Scan. Now, WB Scan comes in two flavors. There's the WB Scan Essentials that allows you to search for barcodes. Again, you might ask, okay, well, why is this important to me? DAT Mail, the back end is a SQL database. So every time you import a job into DAT Mail, we're recording all of that information. Tray tags, pallet flags, piece barcodes. Again, repeating, so the sooner that you can identify that there's a potential problem, you can get it fixed before something gets submitted to the gateway. So again, eliminating a potential assessment. And let me show you what WB Scan Essentials does for you. I just happen to have a few examples prepared. So we'll pretend this is happening out on the production floor. And let's see here, we'll find one that's not in the database. Now, out on the production floor, it'd be a little cooler because when they do the scan, they're going to hear a little beep. So let me see if I can simulate that. There, beep. If this error appears on the scanner, there's a couple of different things that could cause this error. The person in the office, so at the back end of the process, assumes they have the correct mail DAT. What would lead them to believe that they don't have the correct mail DAT, right? The person out on the production floor assumes that they have the correct file. WB Scan now links production to office together. So when this error comes up, it could be that maybe the file was resorted. Inkjet file is out on the production floor, but the new mail DAT never made it into the office staff to import into DAT mail. So it's telling you that there's a problem. Or more simply is maybe the mail DAT just hasn't been imported into DAT mail yet. But the big thing is, whatever the reason, once they see this message on the scanner, they need to bring it to someone's attention and not make assumptions. And let's look at what a successful scan would look like. So with a successful scan, you see that we tie everything back to the appropriate job. Another level of validation, verification that can be performed out on the production floor, maybe inside the office. But the big thing is, now these two pieces of information are tied together. So the office team knows the mail DAT that they have and what's happening on the production floor are correct. So hopefully no undocumented assessments. And there's even one more. One of our clients brought this up recently. So how would you know if there's a more recent revision? Well, we've got that taken care of for you as well. So you can see, we even point this out that undocumented warning, there's a more recent revision of this job. So we give you the tools to help ward off any of these potential assessments. Reach out to us, let us help you get these tools in place. And again, the time to do it is now while you're in parallel. Let's go to DAT Mail. Now, within DAT Mail and the Advanced Navigator screen, the mailing date. So I'm trying to give real-life examples that have recently come up, and one of my clients recently asked that USPS was asking that a time be put into the upload. So mailing date, magnifying glass, and you can cherry pick. In this case, I just selected one of the entry points, but you can easily, with this double check mark, select all of the entry points. You want to make sure that the dates are correct and accurate. Again, as Monica had mentioned and shown you in one of the slides, simply clicking on the calendar and selecting the date. But again, one of the clients recently said that USPS was asking for a postage statement mailing time. You can add that as well. So you can see whatever USPS might be asking for or whatever's required and mandated, you can easily make that change within DAT Mail. So from the navigator, you can confirm that everything in the MPA is correct, that your permit information, your hygiene dates. Those of you that are familiar with DAT Mail know how much you're able to do here in order to make things correct and accurate. However, having these tools up front, office team thinks, again, that the mail DAT file that they have is the correct one. Out on the production floor, they think they have the correct one. It's time now to tie all of these products together using DAT pre-check in the very beginning of the process, DAT mail to make changes and edits, WB scan to validate and confirm that what's happening on the production floor matches what's in the SQL database. So now that you've taken all of these measures and something still slips through the cracks, you review your scorecard and there's potential assessments. We've taken care of that for you as well. You have to be signed up for the IVMTR in the gateway. I mentioned earlier that all of these, I'll call them a transaction, right? Every time you import a job, the piece, barcode, tray, pallet, all of this again is being recorded in our SQL database. Once you're signed up for the IVMTR report and you get a potential assessment, you now have the ability to take that report and bump it up against the SQL database. That's why it's really critical. So those of you that are on this call, for more accuracy, and I should say that are on this call that are currently using the product, for greater reporting accuracy, you want to import and process as many jobs through DAT mail as possible, so that if that situation comes up where you're faced with a potential assessment, you'll have a report that gets pulled, that will get pulled from the SQL database. So this is what we generate. We show you the piece barcode. We give you all the detail. This can, again, help you dispute a potential assessment. In addition, sorry, trying to find my my correct PDF here. Let's see if I can do it this way.
So you're looking for the summary report, correct, Mary?
I am, and I just had it up here before we started the webinar, and now it seems to have disappeared, but that's exactly what I'm looking for, Monica.
Yeah, what's nice about this, while she's looking for this, what's nice about this report is, yes, you've seen in the spreadsheet there that we give you all the detail about your undocumented pieces, but we also give you this summary report, and that's important because it gives you information about not just where the undocumented pieces are coming from, but why they are possibly undocumented. It gives you some hints as far as, you know, where can you go to look for these, and where do you go to look in your process to figure out why these undocumented pieces are happening. So that's the key. It's one thing to get the full spreadsheet with all that barcode information, which is very valuable, but you need to be able to interpret that, and that's what that summary report does. Yep, there you go.
Right here. Sorry, everyone. I don't know why it disappeared, but it's gone. But in our guide, so there is a guide for those of you that already have DAT mail, there's a guide on the undocumented report. All of this information is included. For those of you that are not currently using DAT mail, you'd have to reach out to us so we can do a workflow review and show you all of this one-on-one. But again, in conjunction with this report and this one, there should be enough ammunition to dispute an assessment and then figure out where things are going wrong. But the main thing is all of these tools are here. It's maybe trying to figure out a way to implement these tools into your workflow. And the only way that you can do that is reach out to us. Let us help you with that process. You can see that it's all here. It doesn't have to be scary. Back in the days of everybody being forced into full service, that was really a huge panic situation for the industry. And I'm very proud to say that WindowBook helped all of our clients, and then some, get into full service, make that transition easily. And we can do the same for you with Seamless. And the big thing is, right, trying to avoid all of these assessments. So doing all of these things now while you're in parallel, hopefully will prepare you to not get any of these assessments later. I'm going to turn this back over to Monica for any questions. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Mary. Great overview of the tools that WindowBook has, and there's a lot of them that we have. And I'll go through that in just a moment. But there's some things that are important to take away from today's webinar. And again, as Mary just mentioned, seamless acceptance does not have to be a scary thing. There are actually many benefits for mailers. So as long as we're going to be mandated to participate and take and you might as well take advantage of these benefits and look at it as a positive method to help you improve the quality of your mail workflow and to take advantage of those benefits. So some of the benefits, it does reduce the complexity of mail acceptance and verification, which it makes the process faster and your mail gets accepted more quickly. And it does standardize that acceptance process, which again is particularly important when you have multiple mailing sites. So you should see greatly reduced instances where you have one set of verification standards at one site and a different set at another site. And it also provides for more automated and trend-based mail quality feedback. And again, that's important. So you're not going to get penalized for one individual mailing. It's trend-based. And the parallel process allows you to work on any issues before you go to live full seamless. And again, probably the biggest benefit is that mailers have much more control over the mail release schedules and the postage payment schedules. Of course, it is important to understand that once you go into seamless acceptance, there's not any reverting back. And of course, now it's going to be mandated. So you might as well accept the fact that you need to get seamless implemented in your operation. And we really encourage people not to procrastinate. Don't wait until the last minute, like right before May, for example, next year. Don't wait till then, because it's going to take some time for you to get your processes tuned up to make sure that you're not exposing yourself to these errors, and that may take some time. So if you wait to the last minute, you are going to risk getting those assessments. And of course, as we've mentioned, we can help you. There's a whole suite of solutions that we have. Now, you don't need to have all of them. If only some of them apply to your operation, that's what you should use, and we can help you figure that out. Again, the Your Score, that's the automated method to access your mailer scorecard, and that's important. You want to monitor that on a daily basis. And don't forget, this doesn't go away once Seamless becomes mandatory. You don't stop looking at your mailer scorecard data then. No, you need to do it always. because that's going to be your scorecard. It's going to be your way to tell how you're doing, and you're going to want to keep monitoring that on an ongoing basis. And we talked about DAT PreCheck, which is a utility to validate those mail.dat files right from the pre-sort process before you get into print production, before you submit to Postal One. So those kind of errors can be caught and corrected very early on in the process. And we also showed you WB Scan, which is actually a finished mail pallet inventory management system. But we also provide the scanning capability that allows mailers to scan those pieces, handling units, pallets, and ensure they track back to the right mail.dat file, which again can help you prevent undocumented piece issues. We also have, and I guess we didn't really talk about this, but we have our True Address solution, which is a CAS coding and NCOA tool to help you keep your mailing lists accurate and up to date, which may be something from a mail service provider standpoint that you might want to try offering to your clients, especially if you have clients that are submitting addresses to you to process and lists for you to process that are out of date. And the best way to take advantage of all of these tools is for us to take about an hour of your time. It's called a mailing optimization analysis session. And again, it's about 60 minutes with our software experts. We use your own mail.dat files during that process. And we can show you these tools, show you how they would work in your operation, help you determine which of the tools would work best for you and in what places that they would work the best. And actually, we could actually do that prior to COVID. We would actually do on-site visits in many cases so that we could actually see your mailing operation live and make recommendations. And hopefully we'll be able to get back to a point where we'll be able to reinstitute those. And we also have a ton of free educational resources that we offer to help people become more familiar with what's going on with the Postal Service, keep them up to date with some of the mandated programs such as Seamless and things of that nature. So we definitely encourage you to take advantage of these resources. And again, the best way is to ask for that free mailing optimization analysis session. And to do that, you can go to our website at windowbook.com/MOA for mailing optimization analysis. You fill out just a brief form with some of your contact information, and then we'll get you scheduled for your session. Or you can call us on our toll-free line, which is 800-524-0380, and ask to be scheduled for your session. Or you can send us an email to sales@windowbook.com and tell us you want to be set up for a mailing optimization analysis, and we'll be happy to get that scheduled for you. All right, we're going to open it up now for any questions that you might have. I know we've gone over a lot of information today. Again, quick reminder how to submit those questions. You can either click on that raise hand icon and then I'll unmute you so you can ask your question. Or you can type your question into the questions area, click that send button, and then we'll read and respond to your question. So if you haven't already done so, please go ahead and submit that question or click on that raise hand icon. And while you're doing that, I'll go take a look and see what we've got out here. 4 questions.
Monica, I have a question.
You do? Well, okay, Mary. We'll let you go first.
Thank you, Monica. It is all about me. I'm just curious if anybody on this call would be willing to share with Monica and I. And all you have to do is either raise your hand or put in the chat. Do you even know if you're on Seamless Parallel yet?
Okay. So you're asking, asking people to share with us. Okay. Okay, here is a question, and we'll see if anybody responds to your question, Mary. Okay, my main concern is with undocumented mail. That's not atypical. That's a big concern for most people. Okay, we pre-barcode all mail pieces, whether we will submit as full service mailing or a single piece. Mail.dat files are only created as part of our pre-sort process. Does the Postal Service plan on allowing mailers to enter the range of serial numbers used for non-full service submissions while using Postal Wizard? Well, that is a great question. I'm not aware of anything, but that doesn't mean that there's not something underway. So I will check to see with the rest of our team if anybody's aware of anything in that area that the Postal Service. But I do know the Postal Service does want this to succeed. They do want it to be successful for everybody. So I do know that they're open to looking at options that will work. So that is a good idea. We will certainly do some research on that. The other thing that people should keep in mind is that most pre-sort options will let you do less than the minimum volume for a pre-sort mailing. You can do that and create a mail.dat file. So there are options even for that, what we call the single piece volume. So you might want to take a look and ask your software provider if they have that capability, because many do, and allows you to do that pre-sort even though the quantity is below what is the postal minimum for a pre-sorted mailing. So we will do that research, find out if the Postal Service has any plans to allow mailers to enter the range of the serial numbers using Postal Wizard. And we would also encourage you to check with your software provider to see if they have any options for those lower volume mailings. Okay. Let's see if I can get to the next question here. How do you sign up for the Informed Visibility Tracking site? That is another great question, and that is something that we help you with. So we can help you out with that, but that is done on the Business Customer Gateway through your account there. But if you need help with that, just reach out to us. I'll go back and give you that information to contact us. We're happy to help you set that up. Oh, and another thing, I can't remember if you mentioned this, Mary, but when you sign up for the IVMTR, you do need to make sure that you have a process in place to regularly download those files, because the Postal Service only keeps them out there for I think 7 days. So you do have to have a regular process in place to get those downloaded on a periodic basis. Okay, here's another question. Canceling and deleting jobs that are uploaded to Postal One is fairly easy. What would that process look like under Seamless? And I can understand that question because the postage statements are auto-finalized when you're uploading for Seamless. You do still have the ability to cancel and delete jobs. You do have to work with Postal One on that. I don't know if you've got anything to add there, Mary.
Is that the same as a reversal, Monica? Do they have to try to reverse it and then resubmit it, right?
Yes, correct. So it's if you've uploaded a file, for example, and it's been auto-finalized because it's been successfully uploaded, so it gets auto-finalized, but then you discover, oops, that was wrong file, made a mistake, need to resubmit. Yeah, it kind of works the same way under Seamless, right? Okay, let me find out some more information about that. I think it's the same process. I don't think it changes any. It's just the fact that when you do that process, it's a reversal.
I think it's the same thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have to reverse it somehow, and then you have to be able to resubmit it.
All right. I'll see if I can find out more information about that and let you know. They're great questions, by the way. Okay, let's see. I think we have some raised hands here, too. Okay, here's a question that has to do with undocumented pieces. What if we discover that an undocumented piece error doesn't belong to our mailings? That is a great question. And that does happen. There's instances where, it's usually not intentional, but, somebody might fat finger something and mistakenly enter something under one of your mids. And it's reflected under your mailer scorecard when actually it belongs to a completely different mailer and mail service provider. And that can happen. Unfortunately, the onus is still on you because it's showing up on your mailer scorecard. So the onus is still on you to prove that that is not your mailing. So typically what we recommend is people keep some kind of an ongoing log of their mailings and how those intelligent mail barcodes were assigned, what the process was, and keep a log of all of that so that you've got proof that you can provide to the Postal Service in instances where there is a dispute about an assessment that might be an error. So that would be our recommendation there. Okay, it looks like that is all of our questions. Appreciate that. We also want to remind you about all of our free educational resources. We mentioned that earlier. And these webinars are just one example of everything that we provide. But speaking of that, here's where those recordings are located on our website, windowbook.com/recorded webinars. So you can check out and see what you might have missed that you might want to watch that recording. We also have out on our website our schedule for upcoming webinars. So check that out to see what you might be interested in attending coming up. And we've also got a number of mailing industry informative white papers out there that you might want to download and read so get some detailed information about a specific topic. And if you don't already subscribe to our weekly Postal Concierge e-tips, you might want to do that as well. That comes out once a week via email, and it is a subscription-based service. It, again, doesn't cost anything, but you do need to subscribe in order to get those emails from us every week. So please do take advantage of that. And also before we leave you today, we want to thank you for participating today. We know how busy everybody is and how crazy today's world is for everybody. And we greatly appreciate that you took some time out of your schedule to be with us today. We hope you enjoyed it and found it informative. And we look forward to seeing you again soon, either on your mailing optimization analysis session or certainly on an upcoming webinar. Again, thanks, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day and your week, and stay safe and healthy, everybody. We'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.